In this video, we're going to focus on how we can put in a progress bar like this, where you have here the label and then you have here the value or the data point, and you have here like a so-called background here that will lay out the path where the progress bar is supposed to go eventually. So let's start to look how we can do this. So to create a progress bar chart in Chart.js, we will have to do some modifications. So let's start to look at that. First of all, we need to get our boiler template, which you can find here on chartjs3.com getting started. This specific link here, which you can find as well in the description box. Once you're on the site, copy this boiler template, copy this, and if you want to understand what this boiler template does, make sure you watch this video that explains it all. So I'm going to paste that in there. I'm going to cut out this title, and then I'll put that in here, save, and then refresh. Alright, so now we have this here. What I want to do is I want to maximize the size there, and then what I want to do as well is, because as you can see here now we have this, but I want to have this as a horizontal bar chart. So what I'm going to say here in the options, enter index axis equals, and here we put in the y or column y. So basically we'll swap this with that, and you will see here now, there we are. Let's remove all of these grid lines here because we don't need all of those. So you can say comma here, let's say here grid, I'm going to say here display false. If I save this, what will happen, we remove these grid lines that are directly attached to the y scale, and then what I want to do is put a comma here. I'm going to say here draw border, which is basically the y scale border, equals false. Save that, refresh, and you might notice the line is slightly disappearing, or is slightly lighter now. The reason why is because there's still another line on top of it on the x scale. So what I want to do next is I want to go in the ticks and remove all the ticks here. We don't want to show them here because later on we're going to put them here at the very top on this side and on that side here. So say ticks display false, save, refresh. Alright, so now we did that. What I want to do now is do exactly the same for the x scale. I'll just copy everything here, enter, say x, or we can just put that in there, x, put a comma here, and delete the begin by 0. Just remove that, save, refresh. There we are. So now we have this. So now let's start to look at what we need here. Or let me just remove this legend here. So it's a comma here, plugins. Then I'm going to say a legend. And then I'm going to say here, make sure that that's a bit more neat. And I'm going to say here, display false. Save that, refresh. Alright, now we have this. What I want to do is I want to play around with the bar chart, and we're going to make this slightly, we'll give this an adjustment. I want to make it more narrow. So first of all, you can see here at the bottom, or at least at the back here, this here needs to be a border as well. So I'm going to say here, border skip, false, save, refresh, or border skipped. There we are, border skipped. That's the way you need to put it. Then we have here the borders that are by default being skipped by bar chart. So now we have added them. Then what we want to do here is a few items. Let's say here I want to make here the border radius 5 pixels. Save, refresh. Now we have this rounded borders here. That's fine, but I want to narrow now as well the bar itself. So say comma here, and then go to say your bar percentage. And by default this is set on 0.8 or 0.9. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say 0.2. Save that. There we are. We get a nice narrow bar. Next, what I need to do is I need to have the category percentage. And I have a video about this, so if you want to understand that video, at the very end of this video I will give you the link of that. So then I'm going to put it on 0.9. This is just the default item because we'll be later on needing that. Or I guess it's slightly thicker here. If I do 0.8, maybe that's the default because I noticed there was a difference in thickness. Anyway, doesn't matter so much. Most important is to understand that these impact the size of your bar. And later on we'll be needing that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a plugin. And let me double check here. We have here the options. So we have to go after the options, comma, plugins, bracket, and then I'm going to give this here our progress bar. Copy this. Create our new block here. Progress bar plugin block. Then I'm going to say constant progress bar equals, and I'm going to say ID that, and then here we're going to look at what do we want to draw these items. So basically we're going to draw three things. Number one is the text label here. Number two, the text label at this side, or the value label, and finally a background here at the back of the bar. So we want to make sure that this bar or the data set will be shown after everything else. So we have to draw first the labels and the background bar. So I'm going to say here, before draw a data set draw. So before we draw the data set, we want to have our item. So we're going to say here the three parameters, chart, args, and plugin options, although we won't be using these two here. And then I'm going to do here an object destructuring. And if you don't understand on object destructuring, in my video or in the description of this video, you can find here understanding Chart.js object destructuring. It's very important to know. So we're going to put that in there. I'm going to say equals to chart, but then here I'm going to say CTX because I want to draw on the canvas. I'm going to say chart area because I need the chart area positioning. I'm going to say top, bottom, left, right, width, height. And then we have this, and then finally comma, we're going to say the scales x comma y. So that will help all of it. And maybe we'll be needing the data reference. We'll definitely need that one. So I'm going to put a data reference in there as well. So now we have this. I'm going to say ctx.save to save all variables above. And now we can start working on drawing the item. So let's start with the very basic one, is the label. So what I want to do is, the label is this one here, Monday, or whatever the label would be. We have to loop through this later on, but we want to put first one in here to see if it works. So I'm going to say here, let's say here label text. And I'm going to say here ctx dot. And then what we can do here, I guess the most logical here would be to extract the value of the label. How can we do that? Well, basically here, I guess, let me show you. Console log, data. If I save this, refresh, open up developer tab, you can see here, get a whole object. You get all the information, and I just need the labels. Let's grab that one. So data.labels, if I save that, it will loop through it, and we get all of these values here in an array. Very useful, because later on we can just grab that. So now we have that one, alright? So then what I want to do here is, I'm going to say here, let's give it a color. I want to give this a gray color, and make it a small font, and later on the value will be more bigger font. So I'm going to say ctx dot font equals, and let's say here quotation 12 pixels, and then the font family will be sans serif, which is a default font family that Chartjs uses. Then next I want to say ctx dot fill style to give the color, and this color will be RGBA, say 102, comma 102, 102, comma 0. Or let's make this solid one. That's fine. So once we have that one, we can do the next one, and that's basically we have the font, we have this. What we should do here, I guess, is maybe here the text itself. So ctx dot fill text, and then here, well, what we want to do here is basically Monday. So I'm just going to hard code this for now. Later on we're going to get that. Mon, and then x and y coordinates. So what we want to do with the x and y coordinates, well, let's see, what is Monday? Well, I guess Monday is the red one here, as you can see. Alright, so what we want to get is the x and y coordinates for this. Luckily we have the scale here. You can get here the y coordinates quickly. Let me show you. I'm going to put that in there, or I guess what we can do with the Monday, I can just hard code that one by doing it like this. And just say here, for now, index 0. And then we can use this one for the y. Refresh. So you can see here, if I click on one of these, you get all of the information here. And although I guess we don't even need this one, or what we only need is a special command. So I'm going to say dot get pixel for the value, and the value will be, well, in this case it is index 1 because the bar here, or index 0 because the bar is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way to 6. So this will work nicely. If I just put this one right in here, so you get the, basically this is a Chartjs command, Chartjs API, which allows us to get the pixel of the value, and in this case this is the value of y, index 0 is the red bar Monday. For this one here, what we need to do is basically we're going to put it on the left side of the chart area, that is this one here. I'm going to put that in there. If I save this now, refresh, there you are. So it works, but of course we're still on top of this item. So we need to push this up a little bit. And there are basically two items that we need to work on. We're going to say here, first of all, ctx.text align, and I'm going to force this on left. That will be important. And next I want to say here, ctx, well basically it's already by default on the left, but later on we're going to put one on the right side, and then we get some, we might have some positioning issues. Anyway, the next one is the item here. You can see here I want to check here the baseline. I'm going to put it on baseline equals center or middle. That's the right term. So once we put this on left, let's save that, refresh. Alright, and sorry, not only left but also on the middle. You can see here now it's exactly in the center of its positioning, which is correct, but of course now we need to push it up. Basically it just grabs you the center of the item, and very similar to a table. So what I want to do now is I want to push this up. Basically, how many pixels do we need to push it up? Well, in this case 12, but maybe you have another one, or maybe you want to control the size of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say here constant. I'm going to say here the font size label equals, and just going to put here 12 for now. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to say here, I guess minus 12. Oh, sorry, that's not the case. What I want to do is I want to do here minus 12. Let me explain why. Because if you understand the chart area, here's 0, and this is the whatever the height would be of the canvas. So if we go more up, we need to reduce the amount of the height. So if I refresh here, you can see here now it moves up, and we get this 12, which is quite acceptable, except I want to do here, and then again minus 5 as an additional 5. There we are. Alright, so but I have this 12 here. What I want to do is make sure that this 12 goes in here as a variable, so we can concatenate. For that I'm going to use template literals. So I can use backtick, and I'm going to say here, copy this, $, open and closing curly braces, and then here the font size label. So if I save this now, refresh, there we are. If I make this, let's say 15, you can see here we could change that as well. So that looks quite nice, but I'm going to keep it on 12. So nice and small. So now we have this one done. The next part would be basically the value label, or the value text, which is the item of this, or the data point itself. So we're going to show that one now. And that's the reason why I already put this one on the left, because we're going to use again everything here, or most of it. I guess we can just copy all. I'll just put it down here, and then we can trim away what we don't need. First of all, font size label here. Let's say font size data point. And I want to say this one will be 15. That's nice. So I'm going to grab this. Oh, grab that one. Put that in there. And put that in there. And then this. Alright. So that works. And then we have here the value. I guess this console log can be removed. This one as well. But then here we have the data label. And remember we had here left, and we have here the text alignment of left. What I'm going to do here is right. If I do this, refresh, you will not see it anymore. The reason why is because it is outside of the area. If I convert this into right, save, refresh, there we are. So that works, but what I want to do more is I want to make sure this is bold. So I'm going to say here in font, bold, or bolder. You can do bolder or bold, whatever you want. If it's bolder, it has a font width of probably 600 plus, compared to bold. I think that's 600, and then maybe the bolder is 700 in font weight. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'm not really an expert on the exact numbers here, but you get my point. So what we're going to do here, we have this. we have that. I want to put in the value here. So how do we get the value now? Well, remember, this is the data object that we were able to get from the object destructuring. So to go even deeper to the data set, you have to go from data to data sets, index 0, and then here, the data, whatever the index would be. Later on, we have to make a for loop. So I'm going to say here, data set, index 0, dot data, index 0, and let's save that and refresh. Alright, so this works nicely and it shows the value nicely. I guess what we should do here maybe is just to create a for loop. And to do that, I'm going to say here, which is above. We can say here, I guess, a for loop or maybe even a for each loop is even better. So we're going to say data dot data sets index 0 dot data, and I'm going to say a dot for each. So we're going to loop through every item in the data point, and I'm going to call this, well, let's put in the extra parentheses. And I'm going to say here data point, so every individual data point and the index. Then here a function arrow expression, and oh, what happened here? As you can see here, make sure you have the curly braces here together. Then I want to cut out this and put it all up. Let's cut this out, put it in here, and I'm going to give this all a proper indentation. Alright. Save, refresh. Alright, so this looks fine, but what we need to do here, this is the data point. So I'm going to grab this data point. Fill text here for the data point is this one here. That's number 1. Next we need to get the index here, and if we do this, because if I save this right now, you will see here, alright, something happens, but you don't see exactly what. So what I want to do now is the index, and let's look at the index here. I'm going to say here index, and then that's for the text, and then here as well for this index. So if I save that, refresh, there you are. So now it loops through every one of these, and the position is grabs it. So we're going to do same for here down, index, and I think we have them all. Alright, so now we have everything here. Background is still the last one. For the background, I'm going to use some tricks for it, and I will not make a rounded background for it. And the reason why is that rounded is quite tricky, but I will make probably a separate video for that, because the rounded thing requires just a different way or a slightly different approach. Well, the rectangle is easier, so I'm going to do that one for now. So what I'm going to do here, first of all, this will be the BG color of progress bar. And what we're going to do here is, well, first of all, I'm going to say ctx.begin path. And what I want to do is I want to draw something, but this shape has no connection with any other item. So it basically resets. If ever there would be anything that's open, it will reset it so it will not be connected. So this is a unique shape, independent of all other items on the chart. So then what I'm going to do here is I want to give it a proper color. So I'm going to say ctx dot fill style here, and then this will be the color, and this wants to, I want to grab here basically these colors here, but this is a tricky one because you have the background here and the border around. So I'm going to use just a simple trick because it's just easier to do it instead of grabbing a whole array and put it in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap these, or basically just swap them like that. Let's put them in there. Border color will be now like that, and this is the background color. So if I save that, refresh, as you can see here, nothing truly happens, we just change color. But there is like a border on here, and this border width, I'm going to set it on 0. No need for this border width anymore. There we are. So then you don't see really any difference. But however, later on I can just grab the border color here, which is transparent, to put it in here nicely. So that's basically the reason why I'm doing this. So now what I can do here is just very simple. I'm going to say data dot data sets index 0, and then here we're going to say here border color index, whatever the index is. That is because we're still referencing to this here. So then we have this. Then I'm going to say ctx dot fill rectangle. Basically this is the easiest way, but it will create some sharp edges. However, if it's very transparent, it's hard to notice them. So that's a good thing of it. So I'm going to say here, first of all, it will be x, y, width, and height. This one is tricky as well. So the X and Y will be probably the easiest one because we already have that here. Let's see, we can start with the left. That's the first one. Next, what we want to do is here the value. I'm going to put that in there, but we still need to do something with that. And then once we have this, we have the width and the height. Well, the width is still easy. I'm going to grab that, put that in here. Height is more tricky. However, the reference will be to this here. Remember when we had this one here? This is the reason why I put that in here, because we want to make sure we have the calculation of the size of it. And now this becomes important. For now, I'll just make it simple and just say, let's assume we have 15 pixels in width or height. If I do this, you can see here now what's happening. We get this bar here, but we are still not in the right position. So we're going to make sure we have this in the right position. And basically we need to go up 50% of whatever the height would be of this bar. So to get the height of the bar, what I need to do is to calculate, and the calculation is tricky, but pay attention. So what we're going to do here, first of all, I need to know how many ticks we have. Well, you will say, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, 7 ticks. That is correct. So I'm going to say here console log. You can see here if I do this, y.ticks. Open the developer tab, you can see here we get an array with the items. So 7 items. Say here dot length, and then we get the value of 7. And of course, if you have more, that will be suitable as well. So then we have this length. But now what I want to do is this length must be divided by whatever is the height of the canvas, or specifically the chart area here. So what we're going to do now is we say here the height will be divided by 7. If I do this, refresh, you can see here we get now the calculation, and the official calculation is 29 pixels, at least for this case, 29 pixels of our item. So what we're going to do now is to, alright, this is 29 pixels, and then what we need to do here is this 29 pixels needs to be multiplied by how big the bar percentage is, 0.2, and then after that we still need to multiply it by the category percentage to get the official height of this. So what we're going to do here, multiply by, and how do we get here? Well, we have the data here again, data sets, and then we go down to bar percentage and category percentage. So we're going to say here, data dot data sets index 0 dot bar percentage. And then afterwards as well, multiply by, let's grab this all. And then we say here, category percentage instead of the bar percentage. So we have them both. So if we do this, save, refresh, open up the developer tab, you'll see here, it's right now it's about 4 pixels. Of course, when we are bigger here, that should be it. All right. So then what we're going to do here, let's look at this. We're going to grab all of this here, and I guess you can give this a proper term, constant bar height. Oh, that's it. Semicolon here. Grab this. Once we have that, put that in here. Save, refresh. We have the bar height. Alright, so that's the first one. But what we need to do now is we need to position it here a bit better. Because what I need to do is, I need basically the bar height, but 50% of it going up. Makes sense, because we're just reaching halfway. So we're going to say here, and this one will be minus bar height divided by 2. Save, refresh, and now it's on top here. If you look very carefully, you might notice, if I do if I zoom in, as you can see here, oh, all right, it doesn't work really well, probably hard to see, but you might see here the corners. Anyway, let's undo this and reset. There we are, and now we have them exactly on top of each other. And if we would change the values here, or even if we would remove another item, let's remove Sunday, save, refresh, and there you are. You can see here now we get these bars here beautifully shown here. So if you enjoyed this video and maybe you want to understand the bar percentage and the category percentage, which is a very important part as well to understand, in that case I'm going to recommend you this one here. The bar percentage versus category percentage in Chart.js. This will explain exactly how that works.